We might as well.
Start from the top.
We got to hold 2 minutes.
There's a ball.
Into the KSR Football Podcast presented by Revel XP. I'm Nick Roush with Adam Luckett, Drew Franklin, and Max Duffy in the house to kick off our 10th season of the KSR Football Podcast. For those who were watching live, you got a bonus episode, a bonus 2 minutes before the tech cutout. We've had, we're dealing with technological difficulties, but we're having a good time. Look, it's football season. We're playing ball this week. Real football is being played.
We are. And, just to forget what happened. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. It's just week one.
Yeah, it's week one for all of us here.
We're just kind of figuring it out. Hopefully this doesn't happen with Kentucky's helmet tech this year. Hopefully all the bad tech vibes went our way and stay out of the Kroger Field press box.
Hey, and you know what? You got to be gritty. You got to take some punches to the chin. It's not what happens to you. It's how we react to it. And we're pushing forward to give you a season preview of the Kentucky Wildcats. Drew, I mentioned it already, but 10 years of doing this. 10 seasons.
We're getting old, Nick Roush. We miss our guy Freddie, who stepped away at the end of last season. Had a long run with him, but now, we know this guy pretty well. He did a little podcasting with Fade This. That's the other one. Pin It Deep, Ray Guy winner.
We do a lot of podcasts.
Now a high school football coach, so all kinds of expertise from Max over here in the fourth chair.
Yeah, I don't have the notebook like Freddie did, unfortunately. I won't be able to give you hour-long stats and all that kind of thing, but I'll do my best.
Did you, when you became a high school football coach, did you have to grow out a goatee?
Just so I didn't look like them.
So you did. You got to get the buzz cut, the goatee.
Yeah, I'm trying to put on a little bit more weight.
Yeah,
all those kind of things. Yeah, it feels great.
Do you have a whistle?
I've got a whistle. It's actually from my head coach back of the school that I was at in Florida. It's got his name on it, so that's the whistle. Yeah.
Hey, what tips from Mark Stoops have you taken with you into your coaching profession?
Coffee before all games.
Great tip.
Don't hang on to your hair. Grow the gut out. Wear black if you want to look slim. All the basic
great tips. The keys to success.
I spent my whole Saturday night yelling at the refs, just telling them they're just the worst call I've ever seen. Even though Monday through Friday I just stay nice and smooth, and then Saturday I lose my mind.
That's what matters, though. Yeah. That's how you get the refs on your side. We're learning a lot today on the KSR Football Podcast. We preview the season, and we're here thanks to our friends at Revel XP, where they're going to take care of you this Kentucky football season. I know there can be a lot of anxiety preparing for the tailgate. I like the grill out. I don't have the capabilities to fit everything into like a truck and do all the doodad, make sure the food's right. I'm not one of those kind. I don't want to deal with cleanup. I don't know how people even get the service for the TVs out there. I don't know how they do that, but Revel XP, they know how to do that. They'll take care of it for you.
They are the setup men. Let them help you. Let them come and help you set up a tailgate.
And clean it up, tear it down. They got it all at Revel XP. Visit revelxp.com. Click on the teams and events tab. Scroll down, you'll find Kentucky, and they will be your all-inclusive partners throughout Kentucky football season. 8 home games, so you can do it for one, for a big party. You can do it for them all. Revel XP will take care of you. And the plan is, if we can get the technology to work, the plan is we're going to have a live show from a Revel XP tailgate before the Georgia game, night game, under the lights at Kroger Field. It's an exciting time to be at the Krog. Team up with Revel XP, your partner for all-inclusive tailgate experiences at Kroger Field this fall. We got a night game. Do we like the night game to start the year off?
We've got the lights on here now, so we're almost playing the night game.
Are they going to flash on and off like the new blue lights?
I thought we had a ghost just there, just turn on the lights.
I'm excited for a night game. A lot of times that's a nooner. You get your full tailgating experience right away. Go ahead and separate the men from the boys if you have to in that situation. We'll see the best of the best tailgaters right away.
So sources have told KSR, it says 7:45. First kick is not till 7:55.
Ooh, scoop.
So it's a long wait, Luckett, and you and I who are trying to not get home at 3 a.m., a little rough on us, but for the fans, I think this is a plus because it's a great slate of college football. And if you're out there in the parking lot watching Miami, Florida, you don't really have to rush to get in. You can enjoy the full game, tear everything down, and still get in with plenty of time before the Cats kick off.
Week 2, week 3, 2 big home games, right? South Carolina, Georgia are 2 of the biggest home games of the schedule. You get a buffer here, week 1. You get to kind of feel it out. what you
Ease
need to
your
bring,
way in.
what you not need to bring, what you need to have set up, and you get a night kick, and you get to see the new lights. I think it's really something a lot of people are going to be excited to see. They get to display those week one. I'm not sure how they're going to have that all set up, but that's going to be something I think everyone's looking forward to. So you get the light show. You get a whole day to kind of figure out what you need to do before these two big SEC games come in week 2 and week 3.
Oh.
And they haven't had it here recently. 2 years ago, Florida was on the road, and then last year we had a college football preseason almost with Kentucky kind of easing their way into the season. This time we're coming a little hotter out the gate, but you get the one game to kind of let's see what the setup is before our friend Shane Beamer comes down.
The team did a dress rehearsal Saturday with those lights. I heard the players were very impressed by how that's going to look and what it'll add to the atmosphere. I know just throwing up some LED lights, you wouldn't think that'd make that much of a difference, but we've seen at South Carolina, a game at Tennessee, that was so crazy. They do make a big difference in getting everybody fired up, and I can't wait to see them debut in the first week.
And the other part too, night game would be cool. It's not you're gonna be sweating it out. You can enjoy some libations. You can drink one for the team. Love that slogan for the Kentucky Blue Nil beer. Twist my arm. I got to drink some cold beers to support our athletes. Max, did
Can you
you?
purchase it from somewhere in like a case, or do you have to be at a bar?
The six-packs, yeah, they got
Yeah, you can get the 6-packs.
Where
Yeah,
at? Like anywhere?
yeah, you can get it here
stores
at KS Bar.
They're all over town.
Wait, I saw two. We're signing up
There's
free.
there's things called gas stations that sell beer.
Well, I didn't know if they sold the Kentucky one though.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's good. So first night game, you can kind of just drink that. Don't show all your hand, like kind of like the football team. Like don't bring in the shooters or like the Grey Goose or anything like that. Just go straight football.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday I shotgun one, so I can confirm it's a good shotgunning beer if you like
Okay.
taking that. Excuse me, always drink in moderation.
Right.
But if you do like shotgunning good on game day, as some people do, it was a good drinker for shotgunning.
We're giving away free beer for a year here at the KS
For
Bar.
a year.
Can you choose who the money goes to? Like if the offense doesn't perform, can we just send it all to the defense? If the defense doesn't perform, can we pick certain players certain weeks?
Ooh, that'd be great if you could like have a specific player's jersey on. And so if I'm, Brock has a big game, I'm gonna get a Brock Kentucky Blue.
You just have a virtual piggy bank. $1 here, $1 there.
And Ryan Lemon's trash can would be full of Dane Key beers. Flowing.
I've always had the theory that we need to have a money well at Kroger Field. So as you're walking in, kind of like the Salvation Army bucket, you just throw some money in the money well, and then after the game, you select the game MVPs, and then they get to go get their bucket, dip the money out of the money well because they had a great game.
That's all they want. $20 worth of quarters.
I like the 50-50 raffle at baseball games. Maybe we do a 50-50 raffle and the MVP gets 50%. We'll make it a 75-25.
I think that's going to be around for football season, right? The 50-50?
I hope so.
Because I've been at places with 50-50 raffles, and you're obligated to buy one because if you don't have a chance to win.
It's like going on a picnic, grand prize. You're like, I gotta sign up.
Yeah, you got to have a little skin in the game. So,
And if my losing ticket still goes to paying players,
oh no, twist my arm. So we're fired up to get back into Kroger Field. We're fired up to watch this team. There's a lot of guys we know. Like if you look at the roster, the 2 deep that came out today, a lot of experience on there, but some of that experience is unknown. So right off the top, Max, most excited. Like I want to see this guy in action. This is the guy that, okay, I got some question marks, but if I see him play, then I might feel all warm and fuzzy and stuff.
I can pick anyone.
Anyone. Even the most obvious answer out of all of them.
I think, is it Hart? No, who's the guy from DJ, what's his last name?
DJ Waller.
Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a guy coming from possibly the best position group in the whole country last year with Clinkstale at Michigan. And clearly, if he's, come to the UK, Clinkstale's not giving him a bad rap. He's obviously talking him up a lot that we would bother to get him. We're not, We've got inside information and everything. And obviously, him moving on to the Chargers. So for me, I think that guy's going to be a great player. Probably someone that people haven't talked about a whole lot, but I think he's going to be pretty handy.
I like that answer, Luckett. I thought he was going to just do the low-hanging fruit, which is, you just say the quarterback. I want to see the quarterback throw the football, but
No.
have you
I
met?
don't want to see the quarterback, to be honest. I just want to see us run the ball.
Run the damn ball.
And, maybe sometimes, just throw it to the tight ends, keep everyone happy. I'm a little bit worried about the quarterback because, there's a trend in college football. Johnny Manziel, massive off the field. Cam Newton had his issues, those kind of guys. And then we've got the guy with the phone flip. and it's not making me super excited.
Well,
I need him to go out, drink some beers, have the Kentucky flu, like go do some off-field stuff, and we'll be better.
He doesn't even cuss.
Yeah,
I mean,
correct.
you're talking about you want a bad boy. This man says fudge when something goes wrong.
But he shoots things though. He's a killer, bona fide killer. Kills birds, kills deer.
Has he been accurate? Have we sent anyone out? We didn't make sure he's hitting them first time.
I've seen him hold up some birds, some dead birds, so we know he can. If he can hit him a bird, he can hit a receiver.
Embracing the rivalry, one would say.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, ooh. What if he did like kill a cardinal bird and mount it before the game? Then you get like PETA on his ass.
On a stick, just run out of the tunnel with the Cardinals on a stick.
I like that you mentioned Waller. Have you had the chance to meet DJ Waller in person?
I have not.
Dude is
Not for too many lunches yet.
he is an enormous dude, and you see him, you're like, oh, that's a Kentucky cornerback. And we didn't get a ton of preseason hype because he's had a little bit of injury stuff like it. But that's a guy where you're like, okay, if it pans out and he clicks, this dude's going to be a pro.
Right. I mean, he looks like a Mark Stoops cornerback. 6'3", long arms. That's something
Big hands.
they've been missing. I think that just that raw size out there on the perimeter. So he's going to have a role this week, but Stoops mentioned it today. He's been hurt. He missed the first scrimmage, got some type of lower body injury before that, and it sounds like he missed some time possibly last week. So we're not really sure what his role is going to be, but we do know that they're going to play a lot of guys there. I think that's a position, both that and safety, that they feel like their depth's improved and they feel like they're going to rotate in and out. And you go back to last year, that was kind of a big problem. Depth really caught up to them. Lack of depth, lack of experience, depth caught up to them, I think, both at cornerback and at safety. And that was a lot to do with the pass defense numbers. And I think they feel like they've improved that depth, and they think they're going to have a better year because of that.
Well, we obviously lost Hayes, but our D-line is going to be our trump card. Like, that's the best guys we've got. We got a first-round draft pick on there and all that kind of stuff. But the secondary can hold up. Our defense is going to be scary good. And then we're going to be in every game because we can keep them low totals.
I forgot when I had this eureka moment in the offseason, but you went into last year with Drew Phillips as really your only guy with a year full of snaps, and he was rotating in at nickel and being asked to play a different position. Now you've got a season of experience for Jordan Lovett, season of experience for Zion Childress. Ty Bryant played 40-plus snaps in about 5 SEC games as a true freshman. Like, those guys logged a lot of minutes. They had to deal with injuries. And then Christian Story, he's been at Alabama for 4 years. I think that guy probably knows what he's doing. In his high school numbers, too, like, he was like an all-time high school quarterback, jack of all trades, like an outstanding athlete. So I think that experience, like, if you give Mark Stoops truth serum, he'll say the same thing publicly and privately. Those guys just need as many reps as possible. Max, like, all of these guys have a year under their belt now. I think they should be a lot further along than we expect, and that's the biggest question mark, right? Is like, can the secondary make some plays on third down? Because third downs were rough last year, Drew.
I'm excited to see, he's been on the team a couple of years now, but what Alex Safari does, kind of in a new role, using his versatility. Now that they have a little more help at that kind of hybrid nickel safety, it sounds like he's going to be playing a little bit of linebacker. I just think they're going to use him in a variety of ways now just to get him on the field, being one of the better players on the team. I mean, he played right away as a freshman 2 years ago, going into his junior season now. I don't know where he'll play the most, but I'm excited to see how they use him, because that's what we've heard a lot about so far, is how he's kind of taken on a little bit of a position change and will be used in a lot of ways.
Have we reached a consensus on what we're calling Pop? Or is it Dumas Johnson? Or is it Jamon? Like,
I'm going Jamon Dumas Johnson, because I was told don't call him Pop. And I said, well, it says on UKathletics.com, it says Pop. And they said, too bad, he doesn't want to be Pop. So I'm going with Jamon, not Jamin. I was corrected on that one as well. A little bit of my Kentucky accent. But Jamon Dumas Johnson.
Stoops called him Pop today.
It says on his bio, it says nickname Pop, but I don't think he wants to be Pop.
What about just Dumas Walker? Because I can't write his name. I can't say it without going, on down to Dumas Walker. You know, did that song, did you get you fired up after games? You knew the Cats
I
won?
don't even know what that is.
It's the one that comes on when they win. I know you're there for a win. It just let's all go, and then we all
Down to Dumas Walker.
We get our slaw burger
Fries and a bottle of ski.
We already in the locker room or something?
Yeah,
We haven't had
could be.
Yeah.
Well, big year from Dumas Johnson, and we
Mr.
can
Dumas
have
Johnson, okay.
we can just have a Dumas Johnson here at KS Bar. It could be a slobber. Thank me later.
Don't call him Pop, though. Bottle of ski, not a Pop.
All right, who has more tackles this year, Dumas Johnson or De'Aaron Jackson?
I'm going Derek Jackson. We're excited about the addition of Dumas Johnson, but I think so many people have been talking about him. We haven't been talking enough about how good Derek Jackson's been since he's been here. And I don't know if you'll call it a breakout season ahead because he's already played very well, but I think he's going to take even another leap forward and climb up, maybe being a high NFL draft pick by the time he's gone.
I mean, I'll go Mr. Dumas Johnson because to me, he's coming from a Georgia defense where he was playing. What was he, all SEC or all American or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he's pretty handy. He's going to be a very nice addition for us. So I'll go with him. I think. I'm just excited to see how this defense can play, Jeff. To be fair, we could be back to 2018 good.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I think they had the second most sacks to that 2018 team, and they're all back, and they're going to be even better. To me, I just want to see how good this defense can be. We can keep teams to low totals, like we have been able to in the past. Then our offense doesn't have to be that great to win games.
For you guys, we had this question on the show today. There's a lot of people that criticize Brad White's soft coverage and, allowing teams to drive down the field.
Soft zone's a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And letting them score in the first drive of every game, just to see.
Yeah, like I said, we had a call on the morning show just an hour or two ago about that. Is philosophy going to change now that they're a little better at cornerback and in the secondary, or is that just kind of the Brad White defense?
I just love Luckett when it's they never play man. And it's yeah, they do. And they got burned in that too. But I think the point that you will make, and I agree with, is that, yeah, they probably feel better about guys playing a little bit more man because they're just better at covering people. But also, they're still going to play their zone. That's just what they do. That's who they are. Will there be some tweaks? Yeah, but we're probably not going to notice it. I think it's my favorite part about any sort of pass defense critiques is that nobody can see it. You can say whatever you want and think it's true because only the people in the stadium can see what's going on in the back half of the defense. It's not on the TV copy. You just see the pre-snap alignments and how far they're lined up off of, and it can make you fired up. I think last year it was more an issue of execution rather than overall philosophy. Do there need to be some tweaks? Sure. But it doesn't. I never thought of it as this some sort of Brad White's the worst. He's got to figure it out. This has been a pretty good defense for the most part during his tenure.
Yeah, I think to Drew's question, I think the answer is yes and no. I think to the next point, they are who they are. They're still going to play zone. They're still going to do those things. They're going to use that as the basis for their run defense and to get you into third down situations. But third down being the key.
Yeah.
I think when they talked about the man coverage, a lot of that has been tied to improving on third down. I think you're going to see them be a little bit more aggressive in third down situations. I think 2 years ago you saw that when they had Carrington Valentine and they felt comfortable isolating him into the boundary and him winning one-on-one. I think you're going to see more of that this year. So to answer your question, yes, I do think in certain situations they are going to be more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, I think, is personnel-based. They feel like they have one of the best cornerbacks in the country. So I think they're going to let him line up in a whose face and let him try to win one-on-one. And I think the pass rush, too, obviously helps with that. To Max's point, what made that 2018 defense the 2018 defense was number 41 was unblockable, and there was nothing anybody could do about it. He was going to make plays.
Yeah.
So they had an absolute game record. I think this year they got a game record. It's wearing number 0. And so what impact can he have on the game? Because that is what will level up this defense. It makes everyone else look better. He creates more situations for other players to win one-on-one. Josh Allen created situations where Boogie Watson could win one-on-one, where it was really kind of Calvin Taylor started popping. Who's this big, long guy who they got out from nowhere that's getting sacks? And so can Dion get to that level where it's just man, this Mamma Jamma is a pain in the ass to deal with.
And Khalil Saunders, we forgot about him, and it's because he's got one-on-one situations.
If he creates that to where these other guys can run around free, get one-on-ones, and where Derek Jackson and Jamin Dumas Johnson can run free and clean up there at the second level, then I think that's where you can see that defense really start to do some special type stuff. And so I think Walker, we all know he's the key, but him getting to that star level that we think he can get to, that is what really could unlock this defense and then get us to a point where no one gives a daggum about the coverage. If the pass rush is getting home, no one cares if you're playing soft zone or playing man, because that's really what this is all about.
Yeah.
And that's it's going to be big to see the man that is keeping the number of college years he's playing on his hand, JJ Weaver, see how good he can be. Because he's going to be, I mean, he at the back end of last year wrecked some games, like the Louisville game, he was MVP. Like, that's going to be big for us to have a dude that's what, super senior. I mean, I can't talk about guys being older in college, but he's going to be massive for us with obviously Walker through the middle.
I've got another question for you guys. Defense related / offense related. Shout out to Revel XP for this question. We're gonna be asking Revel XP questions all day. Are there going to be more Maxwell Harrison interceptions or tight end touchdowns? Drew Franklin.
Well, in our season preview that went live yesterday, my hot take was this is the year of tight end touchdowns.
Oh, wow. It's finally going to be the year?
I think Harrison is everything he's supposed to be, and last year wasn't just a fluke. I think he's going to have another big year as a playmaker. I believe in my video with Steven, I said Stoops will have his first tight end with 5 touchdown catches in a single season. Conrad got close with 4. I think he did it twice. Haven't had one with 5. So I got a tight end getting 5, and I have collectively that room getting close to 10. 8 to 10 for all the tight ends. So it's a tight end pick for me.
Last year, the other Max, not you, Max, you kick it. He catches the other team's passes.
The better Max,
yeah. But he had 5 in the first half of the season, broke his hand, and still played with a cast on, but couldn't catch as well, right?
Yeah, but are they going to throw it his way this year? Like, are they just going to completely avoid him? I mean, I don't know. Like,
I would personally, but at the same time, like, I think the other side, like, is going to be good enough where they can't just completely shut
So
down.
what you're saying is Vandy going to throw it to him twice in a row?
We all remember the 2 touchdown game, making history.
Yeah, I think, like, you just look at – it's hard to back up a year like that. Like Trayvon Diggs with the Cowboys. He had all them interceptions one year, and then he had the big dip next year. Like, it's hard to replicate that over year to year. So I would say Max is probably – I think he's going to be better, but I don't think you're going to see the interception numbers. Mm-hmm. So I would take the tight end position just because I think that's going to have to be a position that kind of supplements their kind of lack of wide receiver depth. Like, they're saying they feel comfortable at wide receiver. I don't know. I mean, they got 5 guys. If someone was to get hurt, they would be hurting there, but they've got a lot of tight ends. So I think raw total, I think the tight ends will probably go north of where Harrison would end up interception-wise. And who knows? Maybe we'll see the old tight end jet sweep again.
We did have a tight end jet sweep. People forget that. That was Isaiah Cummings' biggest play of the year last year. Why does it feel like every year that of the freshman tight end, it just has an awesome moment or two against U of L? We had Caddis stiff-arming a cardinal bird in through the surface of the earth. Kamari Anderson jumped over a dude last year. Mm-hmm. So just whatever, if you can find a prop for Willie Rodriguez against Louisville, like, just take it to the bank. Because that guy, have you seen that guy?
Oh, yeah. I remember he walked in here on his visit. I couldn't believe what he looked like as a high school senior when he was still being recruited.
That dude is impressive. And then that first scrimmage, they had the highlight of him just, like, taking on 2 guys, one with each shoulder, and he's just going right through them.
When you talk to Vince Marrow in the preseason, you got to use a little bit of a filter. Our man Vince likes to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's part of the gig. It's part of getting fan excitement going. But he's brought up Willie Rodriguez about every opportunity he can, not including you have Dingle and Caddis back, and then Kamari Anderson, as you said, who had a great end of last season. I think I'm really taking Vince at his word this year with using the tight ends and Willie Rodriguez, though. He just seems – most years he'll play a guy up because those are his boys, but he really seems excited about what Anderson and Rodriguez can do as the young guys in that group.
There was a quote that Vince had. I think he was on with Matt on the radio show and asked about Bush Hamden and what he's bringing. It was like the first interview after Bush comes on. And he said something along the lines of, he's a good listener. Something along those lines. It wasn't a verbatim quote. If Bush is listening to Vince, the tight ends are getting the damn ball, right?
and we're running 37 plays in a row to the left because he doesn't know how to flip it to the right. So
We're definitely getting the tight end jet sweep.
Well, Luckett, I watched an interview. You interviewed Kamari Anderson after a practice. You know, maybe it's what they're telling him, but he seemed to say there's going to have to be a lot of 2 tight end sets right away, and that really could be the way the offense looks.
You know, you never wanted to put too much into the open practice, but a lot of the base stuff was they were in 12 personnel, and there was a lot of, with Anderson specifically, him split out wide. like playing some split out receiver, where I don't know if you're going to see that maybe from every one of those tight ends, but there might be a situation like for him where they can maybe line him up into the boundary and just use him in a certain way, whether it's blocking for like quick game out to the perimeter, or maybe throwing a fade to him or back shoulder or something like that. But they're definitely, I think, they're gonna have a plan for that tight end room. They're gonna be involved in this offense. Bush Hamden has proven in the past that he will involve the tight end. He had 1 year at Washington where his tight end had 700, 800 receiving yards. So he's shown that he will throw it to them if they've got the guys out there. And I think Kentucky thinks that they have some guys out there.
How's your all's favorite player doing, the ass kicker, Caddis? He missed a lot of the preseason camp.
He did.
I didn't go to Stoops' press conference today. Was there updates on him?
He's on the depth chart. He appears to be good to go. Same with Marcus Cox, who missed some time. He's on the depth chart. Who else were we looking out for to make sure they were there or not?
Cortland Ford.
He was not there. Cortland Ford, he's just had injury problems throughout his whole career. And Stoops essentially lumped him in with the Josiah Hayes and Tavian Gadsden's of the world. So he's going to be out for an extended amount of time. They got Anthony Crease from JUCO. He's going to be a backup offensive tackle. If need be,
He's probably there's. I wouldn't say he's. Well, it's interesting how the tackle thing will work out because of Dylan Ray, where he could fit in. But Crease is that third or fourth tackle, I would say, right now.
But it sucks for Ford because you get this guy from USC. You're excited about him. He pushes Flax, but Flax rises his level of play, holds off Ford. And then coming in this year, you're ready for this big pop. Ford missed all of spring practice. He had like wrist surgery or something. And then I guess something else has happened. So it's a real bummer there. But outside of that, mostly healthy, good to go for the first game against Southern Miss.
The Fat Boys up front are going to be well improved this year too with Wolford. Like, that's a big get to get him back. I mean, they were unbelievable when he was there, 2 or 3 years ago before he left us for Alabama. And it was kind of like the Miami kicker. They stole him from us, and now we got him back. So now to have him back, those Fat Boys up front are going to be real good for us.
I wanted to be concerned about the offensive line for a while. Like you had the guys going in and out during training camp. I think Eli Cox and Jagger Burton both missed some time here and there.
Marcus Cox.
And Marcus, like all these guys.
A lot of Cox on the lines.
Yeah. But every time I talk to somebody like it around the program, they'd be like, no, they're better. They're going to be in shape. My Mincy missed the scrimmage too. I saw the tea leaves that we saw in 22 and I got worried. But every person around the program is like, no, you don't need to worry like that.
But yeah, but there's also like, a lot of we'll see with the group too, like in public talks. So I don't really know what to really expect. To Max's point, they are going to be better. I do think the floor is raised, but just how good they can be, I don't know. I think that's one of the bigger questions for this team to answer.
One thing that I've noticed, and you guys be on this too, haven't been there live all the time when they do the player interviews, but the post-practice interviews to me this year have been like the greatest thing that I've seen in terms of normally when you guys would ask them questions, they go, me, like, I want to talk about me, this is how good I'm going to be, I'm going to be all SEC, I'm going to be all American. This year, like, they've just been praising everyone else in that position group, whether it's the D-line guys, wide receiver guys, everyone's been praising everyone else, and maybe it comes from, having a quarterback that isn't all about himself and maybe praising other people too and setting the tone there. To me, like, as small as that sounds, that's a massive difference and a massive, big, like, improvement for the team to be, hey, praise everyone else, like, let everyone else is going really, really well. I think it kind of sets the tone. And if guys are going to play for each other, that's going to be worth 1 or 2 extra wins.
Well, and the maturity, that was one of the biggest issues with that wide receiver room. We know they can go, right? Like, we know they're really fast, they can play. But I mean, just talking with Barryon Brown, it was like, is this the same? Like, he was still kind of had that Barryon Brown in him, Drew, but it was different. Like, it's like he grew up. And I don't, it feels like a very catch-all. It's like when people say the vibes are just right, and you're like, well, what does that mean? But, like, you can feel the maturity there. You can see it physically. And it does feel like they're adults now, that they really grew up this offseason.
Yeah, Barryon Brown, you're a star receiver. You got to have a little bit of attitude, a little bit of cocky, some confidence in you. But I think, off the field in meetings, a lot more focused. A little bit of youth got him the last couple of years being a young guy. He still has that swagger, but I think he realizes this is a contract year for him, and he wants to be in that NFL, and he knows he can't have another, I don't even call it a sophomore slump last year, but he can't have a repeat of last season, dropping a lot of balls. He needs to make a statement this year. He looks like a different person. Same with Dane. I mean, the kind of boyish look for them. Those are some grown-ass men this year, put on some good weight, and I think both of them have their attitudes right. Still being receivers and having a little bit of fun and talking their noise in practice across the way to the cornerbacks, but I think they're doing everything they need to be doing behind the scenes, where I don't know if that was always the case last season.
Yeah, and to your point of where it will show up when those wide receivers go and block for someone else, when they have to run a selfless route, and they've got to be the go route when they know they're not getting the ball.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be after every game, Coach, you didn't throw me the ball 20 times. Like, it's going to be, no, I'm doing my job for the team, and I'm going to go perform my role.
Ooh, which begs the next Revel XP question, Max Duffy. Who leads the team in receiving touchdowns in 2024?
Well, I mean, Brown got a lot on that KSR season preview on the college football game. He was running go routes and we were just throwing it to him. That got me excited.
Yeah, that's the cheat code on that game.
That got me so excited. So hopefully him. I mean, you'd like to think both of them will have, between 7 to 10, I guess, and have really big seasons because they're both going to occupy defenses like perfectly for each other. But I think they're in Brown.
It was funny that freshman year when I think Brown had the receiving yards and Dane had the receiving touchdowns record, something like that. Does Jamori Macklin cut into that at all, Luckett? Is there a chance that, because of all the people, he's getting slept on the most, and he has the most production of any of these transfers, sans Jamon Dumas-Johnson?
Yeah, I think you could just talk in the offense in totality. Macklin is probably the biggest wild card. Like, what do you get from him? How does he kind of settle in? And does he become the vertical receiver that they've struggled to find, really, since Jeff Badet?
Yeah.
They tried. We all know Brown has the speed, and if you play college football, you would think he's Tyreek Hill. But that hasn't really played out in games. And so but that's what Macklin, that was kind of his specialty at North Texas, was running vertical routes and getting open down the field and making tough catches. Does he provide that for this offense? Like, does he become that guy and kind of the wild card there? I definitely think that's on the table.
And I'm not playbook Patty over here, but just go deep, Barryon and Jamori, make all the safeties fly off, and then Dane over route right underneath it. Like, just
every play?
Every play. It's like deep attack was the play in the old video game. It was great. You just hit that post every time. It was always wide open. The safeties would split. They'd run with the go routes. Boom, post right there. Let's just play the hits over and over.
With so much talent there, and as I just said, I think it's going to be a tight end year. I think a tight end and those three receivers are all going to be within about a touchdown of each other in that 5 or 6 range. Since you asked, I'll say Dane Key to be a little different just because he's done it his first 2 years, getting touchdown catches. But I think Macklin, Key, Brown, and then Dingle or Caddis are all going to be clumped up there right together, but close to the same amount. I think it's going to be very balanced.
And what's wild, too, is during training camp, folks will be like, no, the Fred Farrier stuff, every practice, one splashy play. It's like, this dude's like the 5th receiver, but yet he has been Mr. Consistency, and everyone, when he's open, he makes the play, and it's a big play. It could have maybe some David Bouvier vibes. He had 2 very memorable ones. If we can get like 7 or 8 out of Farrier, that's a well-balanced attack. And that's probably the part of this that makes our jobs a little bit more difficult here, is there's not like a really obvious thing because the receivers and tight ends are all pretty talented. And then the running back room, you're starting the season without the guy who you thought might be your bell cow. How nervous are we about Chip Traynham not being around? Are they still going to run the damn ball? Because I love to run the ball.
I'm concerned.
We saw what happened when Chris had to miss 4 games, and that was brutal.
Now, the infrastructure is much better than it was that year because, one, they refused to run Will Levis. 2, the offensive line was in really, really rough shape, and it's in a much better spot than it is back then. So from that aspect, I think they're in a better situation, but it's concerning. I think it puts a lot of pressure on Butch Hamden to kind of press all the right buttons, pull all the right levers in game to kind of and to be creative enough to create a semblance of a balanced rushing attack.
I don't think it's going to matter game 1, but game 2, I think you could see a lot of Wimsatt. That's how you say his name, right?
Yep.
So you can see a lot of run game with him too. I mean, I don't know what you guys thinking, seeing a lot of practice, but I could see game 2, we see a lot of him in the run game.
Yeah, they've definitely got something cooked up. What exactly that is, how often it's used, I don't know, but that tool is in the bag, and they're going to use it. And I'm with you that they might show it or do you think they'll show it at all? It's the same question.
Not week 1.
Because my wife asked it too.
well-
She's like, "Why would you run a trick play after the first touchdown of the year?" It's like, well, some people they want to throw it all out there to make them see it. Stoops doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that wants anybody to see anything.
But you might want them to see it so they could to show them an action that you're going to run the other way the next game, right?
Yeah.
You might want them to over prepare for that, because what if these coaches heard when they get on KentuckySportsRadio.com? Let's see what's going on with Kentucky. They see and have heard about how Wimsatt, he's our best ball carrier.
That was something.
Like they've done stuff like that, I think, to set up some other things with that act. Like, to me, like, we're gonna see some wrinkles and some gadget plays off of that Wimsatt package.
So you're telling me week 2, Beamer, are you listening? You probably are. Don't cover your ears.
Big podcast, Patty
Saying
over here.
Wimps, it's going deep over the top after running a few in week 1. Is that what we're predicting?
I don't think they would hate to score a gadget play touchdown against South Carolina.
They've tried it before and it did not work. That went horribly wrong.
With Chip's injury, though, let's say he is out week 2. How bad does that hurt your confidence? I know we're all pretty confident they'll beat South Carolina if they were to have him. How big of a hit is it in that game if he doesn't play? I think we're all agreement. Week 1, you should be fine.
I'm going to remain confident, Drew, mostly because South Carolina's receivers are not good at all, and they're just going to try to run the ball to win. Well, good luck running the ball against Kentucky. Like that, it was like when Bring on the Blitz, Rich Scangarello, like, dude, come on, try to run it at us. I dare you. Because this is as good as a run-stopping defense as I've seen ever in Lexington. So I like that setup from it, and I think Kentucky could ultimately grind out a win if they need to, and I think the receivers can make enough plays where if you got to score more than 24 points to win the game, then something really bad happened, right? Like South Carolina shouldn't be able to score against you.
That's the first road trip for their quarterback, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he
second start
threw
ever.
Few passes last season in mop-up duty. That's why, as much as I'd love to have Chip ready week 1, I feel like the defense is going to be in control week 2.
Yeah, how good is Brock Vandagriff?
Yeah, exactly.
How good is he?
Which we got this far in the show without it. Good job, guys. Good job, everybody.
I think I have a decent feeling what I think Demi Sumo Cornerback can provide, but like, how good is Jason Patterson?
Yeah.
You know, that's something we're just going to have to see. It's hard to answer because we just don't know those parts surrounding the running back loss. Like, how good are they to kind of pick up the slack?
Yeah, and with your Brock Vandagriff point, exactly. I mean, if he can sling it and he's making passes, then it's going to open up the run game, right? Because they're going to have to put drop extra and all that kind of stuff. If he can't sling it and we're throwing balls into the ground or missing catches and all that, then the run game's going to suffer because they're going to be like, well, we're just loading the box. So if he, as in his way, or in his term, if he can fudge and throw it, then we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Only one of us on this panel is buddy with Stoops. You got any insight? You hitting up old Mark, but getting his honest confidence? We're all relying off press conference speak.
I've heard good things from guys in the program. They feel like they're going pretty good. They feel like he can throw it pretty good. I've loved, like, you know what's normally tell when Stoops is happy with the team because he doesn't talk him up, and then other years he'll really try to talk him up when he's really worried about him.
Yeah.
I remember he
Trying
came to
speak it
me.
into existence.
He came to me one year, and we actually ended up playing pretty good in the end. I think it might have been 2019, and we just finished punt practice, and I punted decent, and he walked up to me and said, "Look, buddy, I want you to have a good year, but the further you punt it, the more yards we're giving up on defense. So this team's not looking good." And I was like, wow, we're in trouble. And I think we still won, 7 games that year, but he was a bit worried about the team that year. I think he sounds silently confident this year.
It was the Bowden Ball year. And how long was that run against Missouri? 30-something yards?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. I think I averaged 26 yards a carry. Well, maybe you could throw me in the run game, back in the run game. I averaged 26 yards a carry, career QBR of 118.8, so I just had the offense clicking.
No, but who's counting?
Yeah, exactly.
118.8, but who's counting? I'm one of those too, Drew. We all heard the Devin Leary stuff last year, and I mean we all fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. But it feels like Brock and Bush have a much better relationship than Leary and Liam did a year ago. And I think where Brock's head is, right? Like, he doesn't have the going out and pounding some Kentucky Blue Light to him, but it does feel like he's very much one of the whole team, right? Like where I think they talked about like how if you have a good practice, he's going to go up and talk to you afterwards. That's sort of the coach's son. I don't know. I feel like his head is in the right space. And if there's anything I've learned doing this for 10 plus years or whatever, it's like usually the arm tools and all that, the physical stuff, are usually not too much different. But like Steven Johnson won big games here because he had it up there. That was the difference maker. That's why Kentucky was successful with him. And you can only read and see so many signs for that before they actually play. But I think Brock, he has that to him. It's just about those learning moments. When do they happen? Do they happen early enough? Is he able to overcome them? Because the guy that he backed up a year ago, Carson Beck, was not the future number one pick until the week before he played Kentucky. And things went wrong at Auburn. He overcame some adversity, and then he looked like the future number one pick against Kentucky the next week. And then a lot of people looked like future number one picks against Kentucky after that. But if Brock can have those learning lessons, let's hope there's not too many in week one against Southern Miss. But if he has some against South Carolina and responds to that, then I don't see why he couldn't have an enormous year. I mean, Lincoln Riley chose him for a reason to be his quarterback. He's got something in there. Let's just unlock that. Bring it out. Manifest it.
I like that.
You like that,
It's been
manifest?
pretty quiet around him. Quite confident, some might say. But like you said with Leary last year, this is such a different approach. They were putting him on a pedestal. What, he like ranked number one out of the transfer portal?
Gas was all over that fire.
I've never heard the phrase "ball that hit the ground" more times than I did last camp. Talking about Leary throwing her down the yard and everybody catching it. When unfortunately, once it really started mattering, the ball hit the ground a lot. Not all on him, but we heard that didn't happen at all in camp, and then it's happening a lot in games. So I kind of like the not building him up too much and getting our expectations too high. I hope that's not a sign that they don't believe in him. I think it's more intentional that they're just going to keep it quiet around him and let him show what he can do when he finally gets out there.
Yeah, and two things. One, what season were the Ravens watching last year? He's been playing for the Ravens. Like, why did they take him? I mean, he was terrible last year, no offense. But then also,
most interceptions and lowest completion percentage in the SEC.
And he's playing for the Ravens. Maybe it was just our offense. I don't know. But the last two quarterbacks, which have been very competitive guys and decent quarterbacks in their own right, I know one of them was probably one of the best quarterbacks ever played, were a little bit me, a little bit look in the mirror all the time. I think this guy is going to be the selfless leader that you want. Back to the Terry Wilson that didn't speak a whole lot and kind of praised everyone else. Like you said, Steven Johnson, the praise, not too worried about their own stuff. It leaks throughout the team, and it'll be better for the team.
I'm fired up just to see BVG in action. Isn't that like what you have on the drink? How much percentage alcohol? Your BVG?
No, I don't think
12% BVG.
It's BAC.
I'm a big
ABV?
fan of,
ABV.
Luckett's been using Brock o'clock a lot in his writing. I like Brock o'clock.
Ooh.
Is that going to stick?
Well, we're gonna have Brocktober shirt.
Oh, yeah.
KSR Brocktober.
Is Ole Miss? Is that when Brocktober starts?
In the back,
Waiting
there's
on the
Uh,
going to be
road?
a cell phone clip.
No, the shirt has a sewn-in cell phone clip automatically.
We need KSR BVG belt clips. I'm not too proud to wear a belt clip. I'm in my mid-30s with 3 kids. Like, all right, I'm built for belt clips.
I liked my first Brock o'clock sighting when he got on campus. I went to just a regular UK baseball game. It was before the chaos started with the super regional run to Omaha. It was just a regular afternoon against probably a non-conference opponent. And I look up in front of me in the concession stand is Brock Vandagriff by himself, belt clip.
Heck
He had,
yeah.
what's the thing you put around
The
your
old croquis.
He had the croquis, and he got
frat
the
straps.
world's largest bag of sunflower seeds. He went and sat by himself off in the corner, and I kept eyes on him. He was just there watching some baseball, enjoying
seeds.
Didn't need to be there with anybody. Didn't need to see anybody. He had his phone hooked up and his sunflower seeds, and my man
Press 1 if you can hear us.
We're back on. But there's a lot of change. The helmet technology, the iPad technology. We have 2-minute timeouts, not 2-minute warnings. Don't call it a 2-minute
You
warning.
need a belt if you had a belt. It's right there.
That's true.
Of all the changes coming to college football this fall, which one are you most excited for, Luckett?
I'm excited about the 2-minute. I'm not calling it a timeout. It's 2-minute warning. Do not expect me to sit here and call it 2-minute timeout. I'm excited for the 2-minute warning. Like the college coaches are going to have to get used to the game management.
They're going to mess it up.
That's going to create some great Saturday content when we're watching games. So 2-minute warning is definitely the one I'm most excited about.
Who is most likely coach to just blunder this to bejesus?
Surely the coach at Miami, right? After last year, he didn't even take it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Mario Cristobal against Florida
Yeah.
forgets there's a 2-minute
He's going to
timeout.
call the timeout at like 2:01.
No, I wish Jimbo was still here because Jimbo would have done something crazy.
Oh, and then he'd be like with the playbook on the sideline. He'd make a real dumb
he had the
face.
big play sheets. He would have been rolling through it, just trying to find his time with a book strategy. So the 2-minute warning is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I think coaches with some NFL experience, just at least being in that, kind of have a better feel for this with the warning and the helmet tech. Just how you kind of streamline communication and how that might change your system or how you're operating with the warning in your back pocket.
Watching the Georgia Tech Florida State game, we saw moments where Hayes King was doing the thing over his ears, but it felt like it was pretty smooth, and it felt like the game flowed quickly. I mean, until we got to the 2-minute timeout, and they were taking TV timeouts for every single one, but that was at like 3 o'clock for a noon game. It felt like the game was flowing well. Maybe that's part of the helmet technology is we're not going to be sitting there with 5 seconds on the play clock like, get the play off. I'm looking forward to a Kentucky football season where I'm not, come on, we got to set the ball.
We all know how frustrating it is when play clock's ticking and they're looking at the sideline. That's finally going to be gone. But I'm going to go with the 12-team playoff. I almost went Austin because I'm very excited about that also. But Kentucky can lose that Georgia game, and you can still be dreaming dreams later in the season.
Sure.
It's unlikely. You'd have to win, a Texas or an Ole Miss or Tennessee and then hold your own the others to even be in it. But just the possibility of a 9-win team and Kentucky eventually getting in, if it's not this year, there are just going to be years when they're in the conversation. You might even sneak in one of those at-large bids. So the new playoff format, I think it'll be at 16
For too
years
long,
soon.
yeah.
I just like that it gives the Kentuckys of the world a reason to dream. We're never going to make that 14 format, but now that it's expanded, who knows? You might get one of those, and you go on those road campus environments, which are another reason I'm logging up over that playoff.
Oh.
Those first round games,
It's gonna be
on
awesome.
campus are going to be awesome.
Like a Big Ten team hosting a team in the snow, like from the South. That possibility is fun.
Kentucky at Iowa
Well,
in the opening round of the playoff.
I don't know about you too, Drew. Like I got tired of all the playoff talk on ESPN and all that sort of stuff because it was only about 6 teams. It's a lot different conversation when there's 20 involved because there will be, and that's going to happen a lot. And I know some people talk about the diminishing returns with some of these regular season games. Like it's not going to be as fun if Ohio State and Michigan are playing, and they're going to play each other in the Big Ten championship the following week. That part's going to suck, but I think there's a lot of games in October that are going to have a lot of juice to them, right? Like Texas, they might be sweating it out. Like Kentucky could play spoiler down in Austin. That having those opportunities is going to be so much fun.
Yep. Couple things. Like the top 4 or 5 teams still have something to play for because they can get a bye.
Yeah.
And for those teams legitimately that are good enough to win a national title, that bye is going to be, I think, important. So they still have stuff to play for, and there's still going to be stakes, even if they have to double dip in a game like you talked about with Ohio State and Michigan. Mm-hmm. For Kentucky, and I think schools like Kentucky, just get to November with 2 losses. You get to November with 2 losses, you are playing in games that really, really matter. And I think for Kentucky, you get to October or November with 2 losses, you're playing in games with, could argue they're some of the biggest in program history because if you win that game, you're in the tournament, you're in the dance, then you're competing for a national championship or for a spot to play for a national championship. And that's going to make the regular season so much more fun. And I think we're going to get into November and people there's just going to be more excitement and more interest, I think, in all these games because there's going to be, not only are you playing rivals and teams you want to beat, you're going to be playing in games that really, really matter.
I can't wait till the debates of because in the past, obviously, the difference between 4 and 5 has been massive. Like, well, if I'm 5, I don't get in. If I'm 4, I get in. Well, now it's like 7, 8, 9, and 10, that order. 2 of them are getting home games, and 2 of them are going to have to go play on the road.
Yeah.
And imagine trying to split the difference between 8 and 9. They might be both 1-loss teams or 2-loss teams, and the debates are going to be insane.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
As a casual fan, you're right. Some of those games will be diluted, those big rivalry games. But we get more football games in the postseason. I'm never going to complain about more football on my TV going later into the
And the guys are getting paid now, so they can't complain about having to play more.
Well, the calendar, too, where that first Saturday that used to be the Vegas Bowl, and it's like, well, is there opt-outs? That's playoff weekend, right? And then the way they're staggered later on, after the New Year's games, it's like college football playoff, NFL playoff, college football playoff, NFL playoff. Like January was up for grabs as one of the worst month of the year, right? I think August is number 1, worst month of the year. February stinks.
Super Bowl, though.
Right, but January now has so much juice with playoff football. Which, speaking of games with juice, remember when Louisville thought they were playing a New Year's Six game last year?
I laugh anytime Louisville gets confidence in anything.
How many times do they have to be favorites against Kentucky and just know they're going to lose? They still think they're going to win. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but they lose 3 straight in the year. Kentucky, then the ACC championship.
But Nick, they want you to know that the ACC had a winning record against the SEC last year.
Well, what did Louisville? What was their record against the SEC?
They want you to know that the ACC had a winning record against SEC teams.
But did Louisville have a winning record?
They want you to know that the ACC had a winning record against SEC
Oh man,
teams.
and it warmed my soul to see their dear. Florida State, they don't like Louisville. They hate them. They wish they weren't a part of the conference. They're trying to leave the conference. They hate them so much. Yet Louisville was willing to do all their fans were just, Florida State's great. They should have been in the playoff.
Louisville plays a better schedule than Kentucky every year.
And they're darling Florida State. What do? Oh, we should have been in the playoff. ACC was so good. What does Florida State do the first game of the year? They lost.
I wanted to be in Dublin after that game so bad. With what were there, 20-something thousand Florida State fans?
Oh, man.
All there thinking it's going to be an easy win. I saw a couple get engaged before the game. They're just thinking, now this is the year we're going to show them we should have been in the national championship last season. Nope, already out of it, losing in Dublin. I wish I could have transported myself to those pubs and just watched them drink that loss.
Not the pubs. I wish I could have gone wherever Kirk Herbstreit was when he saw that they lost that game.
The Florida State fans, they aren't fans of Kirk Herbstreit at all. I would have liked to have as fun as it is to throw your L's down, doing the Irish jig, like that all-time celebration.
And the Irish guy was the holder for the kick.
Oh,
the game kick,
yeah.
which was unbelievable. I mean, imagine doing that back in your home country. It was awesome. And Saban called Georgia Tech too. He said that they were going to win the game. So I'm glad because that's what I'm looking forward to this year. Just ignoring everyone else on that panel except Saban and just seeing what he has to say because he's already called one upset.
Yeah, that morning he said, watch Georgia Tech to win the ACC. Yeah. I'm thinking, I already have money on them to cover the 11.5 this game, but you're putting them in the ACC championship conversation.
Money line, baby.
Yeah.
Still a lot of season left, but they did look very improved from a year ago.
Well, you brought up a specialist, Max. You are the specialist of the specialists. How are the specialists looking this year? Are we feeling good about the kicking unit? Stoops is talking about the new kicker, Cowie, booting 60-yarders.
Yep.
He's hitting 3 against a live rush in practice. And we still got Rayner, who has he missed a kick yet? I think he's missed 1 in his time as Kentucky, and that's it.
We're going to be fantastic on special teams, talent-wise. Obviously, Rayner's unbelievable. He's still there. We got the young kid, whatever you said his name was, for the really long field goals.
Yep.
Aiden LaRose that we brought in from UT Martin after someone on this panel gave the head fella a call and said, you need to take this guy. They brought him in. He's going to be great on kickoff. It's going to be back to the days of like the Grant McInnes kickoff where we don't need a kickoff scheme because it's going out the back, which is nice. That takes that. We don't have to worry about the reverse Barry and Brown happening to us.
Yep.
And then
don't want to get Barry and Brown.
Punting-wise, I'm guessing we're starting Aiden LaRose. I don't know if they've announced that yet. I don't know if that's actually a thing. But
there's an or, so
There's an or, surprising or.
he's got to start because
He'll
can boot it. He can boot it. He's going to be, and that's going to be big for our defense too. Like, it's obviously, like everyone says, it's an underestimated part. It's just a known fact that if you can punt the ball well, you're going to give your defense a better chance. He's going to be very, very handy to have, and it's going to help our defense out even more.
And if you get into some of those grinds, if the offense is struggling, just winning that battle, chipping away ever so slightly.
I'd still like to see our coordinator adapt and go away from the 1980 college scheme of just pocket punt. But if he doesn't want to do it, we've got someone that can boot it this year. Whereas last year, that struggled. I would still like to see us move out the pocket every now and then. If he wants to stay there, we've got a guy that can do it now.
You know, Pat McAfee could be watching. We don't want to start up if he's sobered up.
Right,
in Ireland.
exactly. If he had that 100 milligrams.
Goodness.
People forget that you all got in a feud over punting.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
that
I was
was-
still right.
You heard it
Bigger
here
than
first.
punting, it was nations against each other. It was,
Yeah,
It was a punting civil war.
Yeah.
You
Which-
all were over there when Mark Stoops gave his Monday updates. What's up with this long snapper competition? Who had a big long snapper competition?
We had an all SEC all freshman long snapper, and Walker Himmelbach got beat out by Wake Forest.
NC State.
NC State transfer Alex McLaughlin, so a new snapper, both long and short snapper. I don't ever remember being there a short and a long snapper, but that happened last year.
We had in 2018, we had the long snapper hold for field goals.
Ah.
And we had the short snapper. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's your difference there. And then the great equalizer, like, hey, let's watch Barryon Brown returning a kick. Our teams, are they going to still kick to him? Like, do they just mess up? Like, what? The Clemson game, you're like, what? Wait, they're doing it again? Like, why would you do that? You can't kick it to him. But every time they make that mistake, I'm like, well, tough loss. Like, that's your fault. You wouldn't kick to him again.
Louisville, bunch of idiots. I don't expect to see much of it this year. I think Louisville gave us our last, well, maybe not last, but that was maybe the last fun we had.
Yeah.
They put an or on the punt returner, Macklin or Brown. If we get the Barryon Brown, like, I'm just shooting my shot, there's nothing that makes me more confident than when a guy like Barryon Brown or Win Bowden subs himself into a game to take a punt. Like, I just assume that he's going to take it to the house. Bowden did it against Missouri. Like,
That game comes to mind every time with this. Bowden's like, yeah, I'll come in and take one to the house real quick.
yeah, and new life for the Wildcats.
In Penn State, right? That Penn State bowl game. He did
Yeah,
the same
but
thing. But he would be like, Len, you want to return this? No. Len, you want to return this? No. And then all of a sudden he'd be like, I'll return this one, coach. It's like, all right, let's go.
It's something so hard to do, and historically Kentucky didn't have that many return touchdowns. It's crazy someone could be so good. It's like, all right, I'll take this one back real quick.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if there's like it's like a shooter, like if a good shooter comes to the gym and they're just feeling it that day. I wonder if that's like that for returner. Like all of a sudden it's like the switch got flipped. Like I'm gonna take one to the house. So do we know? I should have done the math before this Luckett. What's Abney's all-time record for returns? Because like could Barryon break it
Touchdowns?
this year? Yeah, because Barryon
I
has
think it's double digits. I think he's got a ways to go.
because Barryon has the single season record for kick return touchdowns now. Abney only had one or two, but I think Abney probably had like 10 to 12, and Barryon's at 6. So
12 touchdown return.
Well,
over
he did
4
punt
years.
and kickoff.
yeah, so he had
That's still
he had the NCAA record single season. He had 5 punt returns.
7 is his record.
7 total.
Yeah, 5 and 2.
Okay, so I think that's achievable. I think he
He's
could.
at 6 right now.
I think he had 3 last year, and he had 2 the year before.
Yeah.
So he gets 3 this year. New record. Record watch.
I'm not betting against him. I mean, Abney might be on my Mount Rushmore of UK football players of all time. He hit me at a perfect age where he really dialed in. And
The
of course,
Mississippi State one where they're
Yeah.
pushing him into the end zone. That was awesome. To
teams
break the
aren't even that
record.
great, so your best weapon's taking kicks.
Not
back.
to be anti-facts don't matter guy, but Barryon has 4.
Only 4?
Yeah.
So he didn't have 3 last year? What if
He had 3 last year. He had 1 as a true freshman.
Only 1?
Lavelle Wright tripped him up. Would have been 2.
Oh,
Here's the
God.
thing to look for that's going to happen this season. Prediction. They're not going to kick it to him. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a reverse at some
Yeah.
stage. There's going to be a kickoff return reverse. But we're
Ooh.
going to get the ball
Yeah,
somehow.
that's a good point.
Have to.
And he had a punt return against Mississippi State as a true freshman. Scored. That was called
Back. Gosh.
So he's had a couple. Like he could have had, up towards 6 right now, but
Nothing worse than when there's a flag on the field. You get the big play pop. There's a flag on the field. Yeah. Are we working? Oh, okay. I thought you said I was really worried.
Just walked away.
I was really worried we
"Guys, I
were
just
off
closed
the air
this down."
again.
Awesome Marie's here. So how about
Yeah.
Revel XP, man?
Oh, shout out Revel XP. We're big fans of Revel XP. They're our friends here. And now we don't have Revel XP picks, but we might as well have Revel XP picks. RevelXP.com for all of your tailgating needs, all inclusive tailgating needs. Check them out this fall. how we feeling about this Southern Miss game? We feeling like this is going to be let's get all the kinks out, let's run up the score? Is it going to be a little, is Tate Rodemaker going to do some magic, keep the game close? We're going to be sweating this out on Saturday? Max, how we feeling about the season opener?
I hate to keep going back to it, but the On3 live stream of the season on college football, we didn't look good again.
We did not.
So we were lucky for their kicker. Their kicker went 0 from 3 on field goals, otherwise we would have got beaten. I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. I'm hoping it's not, because I was very, very worried about how we played against them. I think, obviously, we're going to win this football game. We're going to win it pretty comfortably. I'm feeling like it's going to be us against ULM when Liam Collin first came in.
Yeah.
Throw the ball, prove we can score points. I think it's going to be that kind of game where we might put up 45 and show that, he's going to want to make a statement. He's not going to come in and be like, keep all the tricks in the bag type thing. I think he's going to want to score. Just to show, air it out, all that kind of thing. We air it out, and they've got to bring guys out of the box against South Carolina. They've got to respect our pass game a little bit. I'm expecting a lot of points and a big victory.
You said 45? That's my exact number.
Yeah.
45. I think it's 45-10. Cats, Luckett, you wrote about it yesterday. Cats, they know how to cover in these openers.
Cover 4 straight. Big
4
numbers,
straight.
too.
And we always give up. So you could put your house on this. First drive, Southern Miss is scoring a touchdown. Because it's the Brad White thing of let any team we play, doesn't matter if it's Georgia or like Division III football team, let them score for some reason on the first drive as if they're like giving away all their tricks, and then they don't score again.
Scripted drives, they can trick you up.
I agree with it most years because I feel like we've seen that movie a lot, but I think the defense is special this year. With so much talent and experience, they're going to be good right away. I agree the offense will score a lot of points. I think there might be a few growing pains, getting guys going, not having chip in. So I don't know if they'll be explosive right out of the gate, but I think the defense is going to keep Southern Miss off the board for most of the game, so it won't be an issue.
Matchup-wise, I think what Drew's talking about, I think the defense, Kentucky's defense, is probably going to overwhelm Southern Miss. He might hit them early, like Max mentioned, with the scripted drive, but I think personnel-wise, they're going to overwhelm them. The big interest where I'm looking at is Southern Miss defense in the back 7 is retooling in a big way. They've got a lot of issues, but like the strength of probably their team is their defensive line. They don't have like a clear star, but they're kind of similar to Kentucky where they have like a bunch of seniors that have played a lot, good size. So what is Kentucky's offensive line? What can they do against a front like that? Does it become a stalemate, or is it a situation where they're able to really get some movement and physically kind of impose their will? That's really what I'm going to be watching for. If that offensive line is able to do that, I think that would be a really good sign of where they're at and where they're heading. If it's more of a stalemate, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely what we need to see with this group. So that is really the game within the game. That's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on, how Kentucky's offensive line goes up against a Southern Miss defensive line that I think for their conference is going to be good, and I don't think it's a pushover.
We're going to have a full preview of the Kentucky Southern Miss game Wednesday night on 11 Personnel, 8 p.m. on the KSR YouTube channel. We're getting a nice little routine here. So KSR Football Podcast Monday afternoons. We got off to a little late start today. We're figuring it out as we go along. Tuesday night, sources say, Wednesday night, 11 Personnel, and then Thursday at lunchtime, you'll have maybe some picks, a little pigskin preview pickage. And then here comes the boom. Jacob Polachek bringing you some recruiting coverage on Thursday. So full lineup coming to the KSR YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Lock that in. And also, we have a deal only for YouTube users. So if you're still around, you can get KSR Plus 2 months for $1 using promo code UK1. So try that out if you have any of that. A lot of great stuff coming to you, KSR Plus. This football season, we're fired up for it to be here. We'll be here with you every step of the way. Max, good to have you back.
Thank you.
Good to hear the takes. We got off to a rough start, but we're going to be firing on all cylinders before too long.
All the good takes were in the first version before we shut down, unfortunately.
I know, it's a real
we predicted
shame.
every single winner. We gave you all the SEC predictions, and we've lost it now, and it'll be gone forever because I don't remember it.
A little bonus episode. I can't believe you told all the stories behind the scenes.
That was
Really
wild.
did that?
I know. I can't believe that. It's crazy, which is why you've got to be subscribed so you get all the notifications whenever we go live. So appreciate you all following along with us to kick off game week. Kentucky Southern Miss, Saturday night at 7:45. We're fired up for it. We hope you are too. This has been the KSR Football Podcast.